live on TIP Annual Conference 2020, and we are on the last session for day 6. How far we've come? 4 coaches work every day, 27 coaches in total. One platform is TIP Annual Conference. And welcome. Thank you for staying with me. I can already see people waiting for this session to start. And I had already said that the first person to make comment in this session is going to get a book from Marybeth that I had already paid for, right? So you're going to get a book from Marybeth as soon as it's out. You will get a book from Marybeth. That is for Adobe Ekesiobe. Thank you for logging in here and for being here. But without much ado, we have amazing Marybeth here. Marybeth Chima is an educator and an intentional parenting enthusiast. She has a major in Botany, Diploma in education, and a certificate in psychology, child motivation, emotional intelligence, Neurolinguistic Programming, and several on parenting. She's the convener of the Facebook community, Parenting Through Mentorship, a parenting community where she equips parents with information and skills needed to help children reach their full potential. She has over 12 years of experience working with children in the development and education sector and has grown a deep passion for children, the science behind their behavior and development, an immense desire to make a difference. So we have in the building, Marybeth Chima. You know, anytime I do an introduction of the coaches that is coming here to speak, I like to do a personal introduction. I'm going to tell you a bit about Marybeth now. So after I launched my book, Connect to Correct, if you have not read Connect to Correct, you are wrong. That's the point. All right. So, and after I launched my book, Connect to Correct, Marybeth was, found me on Facebook via a friend. And then, of course, she ordered for a copy of the book. And then she came herself to my office in Gwarimpa, Abuja, to come and pick up a copy of her book. And when she came, we sat down and we had a conversation, amazing conversation. According to Marybeth, she said that was a conversation that made her understand that this thing I'm doing, I can teach people to do it and do it also amazingly. And one of the conversations that we had at that session is how Marybeth has been able to turn her son, to be able to understand purpose even as young as he was. And one thing I asked her that day was, don't you want people to learn these things that you're teaching your son? And that was her journey into this arena. Far from that, apart from that, we've also had even much more closer relationship. I've been opportune to mentor this woman, and I can tell you that we have substance right here, right? I've been opportune to work with her. I've been opportune to do lots of stuff with her. So I am not bringing you someone who doesn't have results. Here we are with someone with amazing results on helping their child find purpose. Today, when we're talking about education, yesterday we talked about how to help our children find purpose. People were asking how. I said, this is the session where you will find out how. Share this video, tag your friends to watch. Remember that you can only watch live on Facebook at the moment. The moment this conversation is over, replays will only be available on our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me to this session. If you haven't been following TIP Conference 2020, then you are wrong also. So you need to go and catch up. Remember, parenting is about you and not your child. Welcome, Marybeth. I can't wait to hear from you, your experiences, the awesome thing that you do with parents, and how you've been able to work with your son to create such an amazing excellence, even in the midst of all the busyness that parents, have. Thank you for being here. And amazingly, Marybeth and I have been opportunity to work in the same place. Maybe not at the same time. We used to be sent, at some point, but maybe not at the same time, but at some point. So there's a lot of connection with this woman as well. So thank you for being here. We'll leave the studio for you, and we'll be listening right in the background. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Wendy, you do this so well. All right. So good evening, everyone, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching, depending on where you're watching from. The last 5 days have been super amazing. My notepad is full. So, Wendy, thank you for everything. It's been amazing being on this journey with you. And thank you for all that you do in making every one of us, trying to make us all become amazing parents. Thank you so much. And thank you for all those who have helped in putting this together. All right. So she's done the introduction that needs to be done. My name is Marybeth, and the rest is Wendy said it. All right. So I'm a mom of two amazing children. And yes, and I'm here today to talk about how we can help our children find purpose. Okay, so it was Albert Einstein that actually said that God does not play dice. Okay, God doesn't play dice. Now let's add a bit of scripture to that. In the book of Colossians chapter 1 verse 16, it says that for everything, absolutely everything, above and below, visible and invisible, everything got started in Him and finds its purpose in Him. Okay, so in essence, what the scripture is saying is everything that is created all started with God. And so there is a purpose for everything that God is created. And so for your Ada or your Tunde, your Muhammad or whoever it is, your child, there is a purpose as it is with every other thing that God has created. Okay, so this is what Albert Einstein was trying to reiterate when he said that God does not play dice, meaning God is not a gambler, God is intentional, God is purposeful, God knows what he is doing. Okay, now hear what Thomas Khalil said. He says that a man without a purpose is like a sheep without a rudder and nothing of a man. Okay, so let's break this down. Okay, let's break this down. A man without a purpose, is like a sheep. If a sheep doesn't have a rudder, which way is it going? You're just aimlessly moving around, isn't it? Good. So at this juncture, let's look at the dictionary meaning of the word purpose. Okay, it says that purpose is the reason for which something is done, created, for which something exists. So a person's sense of resolve and determination. So if we break this down, what we're saying is, provided a thing exists, whether it's a chicken or it's the mountain, the sun, the moon, the child, Tunde, or whoever it is, or whatever it is, it has a purpose. So in retrospect, for every child, there is a purpose that has been destined. It has been destined by God from the very beginning. I remember as Timothy Olori, she actually said that it is a seed that has been planted there already. Okay, it's a seed that is already planted there and it is for a purpose. Hence, the question, this ultimate, all-time famous question: what is my purpose in life? This has to be one of the oldest questions in human existence. Okay, it's been there, and at one point or the other, whether consciously or unconsciously, we have all asked ourselves this question: what is my purpose in life? Okay, so Rick Warren, the author of the bestseller, The Purpose Driven Life, actually said that, or he actually believes that. But the reason why this question has been a puzzle for thousands of years is because as human beings, we also always ask this question, or we begin to ask this question from the wrong point. We ask this question from self. We start by asking ourselves what our purpose is. So requiring thinks that that question should ultimately be asked it should be directed to the creator, the author, the one who started it from the beginning, the one who had the purpose, who designed it, from the beginning. So if as human beings, we can start by asking that question from the right point, by asking God, what is my purpose? God, this child that you have given to me, what is his purpose? Guide me to help him find his purpose. So if we can do that, then this question wouldn't be such a puzzle anymore. Okay? Here what William Dammer of Stanford University says. He says that there are two perspectives, or there are two components of purpose. Okay, the first is a goal that is meaningful to an individual, in this case, your child. That goal is not imposed. That goal is not assigned, but that goal is meaningful to that individual. Okay? The goal is such that the individual, as the individual works towards reaching that goal, he finds fulfillment, he finds happiness, he finds peace, and he happens or ends up living a wholesome life. That's the first component. The second component is that the individual is able to use this goal or use this purpose that is so fine to make a difference. They're able to use it to impact the world. So there are two components to it. There is a goal and there is impact. Okay, there is a goal and there is impact. So Rick Warren actually adds, he says that and life is far greater than our own personal fulfillment, your peace or your peace of mind or your happiness. So it's much more than that. Outside you finding that thing that gives you fulfillment, are you able to use it to impact or to make a difference in the world? That's what makes the purpose, and that's what makes it. That's what makes you as an individual say that you are living a purpose-driven life. Okay. Now, if I ask you as a parent, I ask most of the parents here, I ask you, what is that one thing you want for your child? Or what is that goal? If you were to have just one goal for each of your children, what would that goal be? I'm sure I'll hear something like, when I want my child to grow up and be successful, I want him to be happy, I want him to be successful, I want the child to have peace of mind, to be wholesome. And then for those who are deep, probably add, I want him to make an impact and make a difference in the world. So if this is what you want for your child as a parent, and this is what I am saying is purpose, then can we close this meeting and go home? It is settled. We don't have a problem, isn't it? So basically, if this is it, then tell me why each of us shouldn't be on the path towards having our children or helping our children or supporting our children to find purpose. You see, there's another misconception, and that misconception is that people think that purpose is a destination. So it's like, okay, let them grow, let them be doing as they like, their children. One day when they grow, when they are 40, when they are 30, when they are 50, they will find their purpose. No, purpose is not a destination, it is a journey. That's why we say it is purpose-driven life. You live your purpose, okay? So if at the end of this day, this thing that we call purpose is what is going to make your child find happiness, what's going to make your child be wholesome, then why shouldn't we start as early as possible to help them find that purpose? So you see why we need to help our children beginning today. I don't care. Is your child 3? Is your child 4? Is your child 8? Is your child 10? You need to look at what it is that is the child's purpose and help them begin to live the life that directs them towards finding that purpose. So briefly, we're going to look at the benefits of living a purposeful life. Okay, let's talk. I won't dwell on this too much. We'll just run through this quickly. Okay, now when you train your children, right, to live a purpose-driven life, the first thing that happens, they live a meaningful life. Your child lives a meaningful life. When I say live a meaningful life, when you're living a meaningful life, you can bear anything, right? You can bear anything. This is the reason you wake up in the morning when you don't feel like getting off your bed, and you can still get up and jump out because there is a purpose for living. Okay, and these things can be really deep. Okay, it's not just about jumping and going to work because you want to mistakes. These things can be really deep. And our children are living in the 21st century. I tell you, it's not going to be like us that, I mean, a lot of times we just woke up and when these children are more driven by what they feel. They're more, it's a generation where they put their feelings in what they do, right? So a time will come up, we'll have children who don't feel like doing and they will not go at all because they don't feel like doing. They won't get up because they don't feel like getting up. So if you put your child on a path towards finding purpose, first of all, the child will live a meaningful life because the child will be able to stand up and continue no matter what life throws at them, whether it's disappointment, whether it's rejection, whether it's temporal setbacks, they're able to abase and then abound because they have a purpose for which they are living. Right? Now the second thing is their life is simplified. Purpose becomes the standard by which they define what is essential and what is not essential. So the purpose now becomes that what they use to evaluate what is really essential or what is not essential. Okay. The third thing is they are focused. When there is a purpose for which, I mean, you're working towards a purpose, there is a goal that you're working towards, you will find that child becomes a focused person. Yes, becomes a focused person. He's able to concentrate his energy on what is important and they become selective in the things that they do. Okay, it was Fela Durotoye in his book, The 17 Secrets of High Flying Students, that said that focus creates blindness. So when you're focused on something, you find that you're blind to all of the distractions. If you've been listening to all the speakers that have been speaking in the last couple of days, you will hear them say over and over again all the many things out there that are competing for the time and the attention of our children. Is it pornography? Is it a pepper? Is it the peers? Is it the internet? There's so many things out there competing for these children's attention. So wouldn't you rather put them on the path of focus? So they are so focused that they become blind to all of these distractions. Even if they are not 100% blind, they will be blind to a huge extent because they have something that is driving them and they have a goal that they are working towards. Okay? The next thing is motivation. Focus creates motivation. Purpose and passion always go together. So you find that when there is a purpose that a child is living, you find that the child becomes passionate. Okay, so it is motivation on its own. All right, and then lastly, it prepares them for eternity. I mean, we're talking a child who is we're talking a child who is already pursuing a goal. We're talking a child who is trying to live what it is that God has called him to live. We're talking of a child who is focused. We're talking of a child who is focused. We're talking of a child who's living a meaningful life. Chances are you are able to teach that child about your belief. Chances are that kind of child will listen to you, and that is it. The child is on the path towards eternity, isn't it? Okay, so great. I said we're not going to dwell on this. We're just going to run off and go to the meat of the issue. All right. So now the question is, how can I help my child find purpose? Okay, how can I put my child on a path towards finding purpose? How can I ensure that my child is already thinking of himself as someone that has an assignment from God? The first thing you want to do, I totally agree with Rick Warren, is you want to go back to the maker. You want to go back to the source. Father, what is it that you want for this child? I mean, I am just a steward, isn't it? You just place this child in my hands. I don't know what your purpose is for this child. So what is it? I mean, teach me how to help the child. Help me know how to support this child. Help me know how to find you. Help me know how to isolate you. You want to ask God this. You want to go back to God and ask this. And if you listen, okay, chances are if you listen, you could just get a revelation. That's the truth about it. If you listen, you could get a revelation. Now, if you get this revelation, you want to write it down and keep it somewhere. Okay, you want to write it down and keep it somewhere and come and let your child be. Watch the child. Yes, you could point the child towards this thing once in a while, but you want to step back and allow the child find his purpose on his own. Remember, I said it is not imposed and it is not assigned. Okay, because that is the mistake that we make a lot of times as parents, because we feel that we have a connection, a spiritual connection with God, and then we pray and then we have a revelation, then we begin to push our children by fire, by force towards that. No, a purpose is not assigned. It is not assigned. it is discovered. It is a seed. It is there already. Your work is to nurture that seed. Your job is not to plant that seed in there. Okay, so beautiful. So that's the first thing. The number two thing you want to do is you want to sow the right seeds in your children. Okay, do your children know that you were created for a purpose? You need to let your children know that. You need to let your children know that God created you for a purpose. God has a purpose for which He created you. And God has given you, it is your responsibility to find out what that purpose is and live that purpose. Okay, so let the children know it's their responsibility to find that purpose and live that purpose and stop making our children feel like they are too young. Begin to tell them these things from very early so that they begin to see themselves as responsible people from the beginning. And then if the child knows he has an assignment to find his purpose and live it, then the child will begin early to try and find that purpose in order to live the purpose. Okay, now you want to be careful, okay? You want to be careful not to name what it is. Okay, you want to be careful not to name what it is because sometimes we are so quick. Oh, you want to be a doctor. I mean, because for some reason we have gotten during what do you call it, career day in school. Okay, what do you want to be? I want to be a doctor. Yeah, you buy him the career fair, and then he wears it, and then you continue to say doctor, doctor, doctor. No, you are the one beginning to plant seeds in the child head. So we say these things too much, and then the children become pressured. Right? They become pressured into wanting that thing, and then they begin to speak our words, not looking internally to see, okay, or not being, not allowing themselves, like allowing God's will, okay, to play out themselves. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so you're careful, you're not to impose it and all of that. Now, I said you should sow seeds. Now, sow seeds, parents. What are you doing? How are you speaking to your children? Are you speaking positive words to your children? Are you speaking positive words to your children? Are you affirming your children? Okay, are you praising their efforts? Okay, when my children wake up in the morning, I don't just tap them and say, wake up in the morning. I eulogize my children. So I wake my daughter with something like, who is that? Is she still sleeping? Is my queen still sleeping? Is Jesus' baby still sleeping? Is it the one that the world is waiting for that is still sleeping? Is it the one that is going to change the world? Is it the one that is supposed to be thinking of how to give value and create new inventions? So I go on and on. Is it the one that is favored like Esther? Is it the one that is as wise as Abigail? Is it the one that is as calm as Mary? I go on and on and on, and then I begin to tickle her, and then before you know it, she's laughing and all that, and then she's up. I eulogize my children so that they wake up with the right kind of energy to keep the day. Okay, the other thing I said, you want to speak positive words. When the children make you angry, what do you say to them? You start telling them how they are stupid, how they are useless, how they don't have sense. Is that what you say to your children? Or you try to be as deliberate as possible. Okay, I hope I'm
Sorry,
not.
Marybeth. Sorry, I just need to cut you. Your audio, if you have a head piece, that will help. Your audio is
Oh,
a bit shaky as of now. I don't know if you have a handy headpiece.
okay, sorry about that. I have to step out then.
That's fine. All right. So Marybeth will soon be back. We want to make sure that her audio is working well. Sorry about that. She needs to get some headphones so that her voice is not echoing in the background. We noticed that there's some issues with our audio, so we decided to do that. All right. Oh, yes. Thank you so much for that suggestion. Marybeth is working on it, and we're dealing with that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Marybeth is sharing on helping your child find purpose. Marybeth is called the mentor mom. She will help you, find the direction that your child should go. And Marybeth is in the studio sharing TIP Conference 2020. Right. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Marybeth is back in the studio. We're going to add her soon. So please bear with us, and we will be working on this right away. All right. Can you hear me, Marybeth?
Yes, I can, but I'm still hearing you from the system.
All right, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Is it?
It's not on, that's why.
Turn
When it's
it
on,
on
I
now.
still. It's on, yes, but the computer hasn't detected it yet. Connect.
Okay, I'm guessing that's a lot. That's work still going on there. So please, sorry. If you have questions, you can also share in the comment section because we've already gone almost halfway through this conversation. Please and please. And also remember that tomorrow we are going to be here sharing with you on this conversation as well. Yours truly will be here tomorrow speaking. But before I speak, I'm also going to be having my Oga come to speak. All right, that's how we say it in Nigeria. Okay, come to speak. We're having 3 sessions today, tomorrow, not 4, and we're having a session at 12 p.m., another one at 5 p.m., and another one at 7 p.m. At 12 p.m., we're going to have Sam. Sam Obafemi will be here talking about parenting with your mental health in check. You don't want to miss that session. And then we'll have Hannah Clark. Hannah Clark will be talking to us on how to create a patient plan for handling big emotions around our children. And I will be speaking from my yet to be released book called Becoming the Intentional Parent. So I'm going to be sharing with you on becoming the intentional parent. That content has not gone live anywhere. So you want to be here tomorrow. I think Marybeth is back in the studio, right? So you go ahead, ma'am.
When is it like I need to project my voice more? Or is it like I need to
You're
project
good.
my
Go
voice?
ahead.
Sorry about that. All right, so where was I? Okay, I was talking about sowing the right seeds, right? Yes. So you eulogize your children. I mean, I eulogize my children in the morning, and then apart from that, when I give my daughter, I mean, when I used to give my son a bath, the same thing is the culture that we've had for a long time. When I give them a bath, that is when I pray for them. That's when I bless them. Okay. And apart from that, they have affirmation that they make for themselves. Okay. So basically that. And then I said something about praising their efforts. Okay, I said we need to praise their efforts. Okay, now the other day, my daughter is learning to play the piano. She's 5 years old and she's learning to play the piano. So usually, my niece who is with me would be the one that would ask her to come and practice and all of that. Okay, so this day she stood up on her own, sat down by the piano, and began to play it. And then I made a huge fuss about it. Oh my God, Mama, you actually decided to play the piano on your own. This is so good. I like the fact that you didn't wait for someone to tell you. You went on to start playing the piano by yourself on your own. This is huge. You should be proud of yourself. Okay, you really should be proud of yourself. Imagine that you do this 2 times a day. You will be so good at playing the piano. Okay, and then she went, yes, mommy, I'm proud of myself. And then my son is preparing for an international speech competition, right? He's preparing for that competition, and they had to be like a speech and all that. So I was out the other day. I came back, and he came to me and handed me a sheet of paper, and he's like, "Oh, mommy, I put my speech together. Can you look at it and see if it's okay?" I didn't even look at the paper. I took it and I'm like, oh my God, you actually thought yourself good enough to prepare a speech that you would use for an international competition. This is amazing. I like the fact that you trusted yourself. I like the fact that you decided to give it a shot. I like the fact that you actually believe that you could write a speech that could win a competition. Whoa, I made it that big. And I'm like, you know something? Imagine that you take this. I mean, just take this again, look at it again, and see if there are adjustments you can make. Perhaps you will remember some things and then add it to the speech. Imagine how that will make the speech. And he's like, okay, so I handed him, and then tomorrow I can look at it. I handed it back to him. He made some adjustments, added some points, and then the next day he gave it to me. Now, did you listen? At no point did I tell any of my kids how brilliant they were, how smart they were, how intelligent they were. I wasn't praising the person. I was praising the effort. And in praising the effort, I am able to raise the bar. Like I could say to my daughter, you actually did it once, meaning if you do it 2 times, okay, it could be better. I could say to my son, you have put the speech together. Imagine that you look through it and you go through it again. It means you could add more things. So what have I done? I have told these children that I believe in them. I have told them that they are capable. I have stretched them, okay, I've raised the bar and given them an opportunity to stretch themselves. So you see, I am not doing all of this. I am actually tactically or compelling them, and they are ending up doing all of this on their own. So that is how you want to praise the efforts of your children. Now, if I want something like, you were so smart, you're so brilliant, what does that mean? What it means is the next time or the next time they try to do something and they don't do it well, automatically the child would think of himself as not smart. So what is the opposite of being smart? You think of himself as a dull child. So when you praise children, you want to praise their efforts, and you want to at least leave the person and then praise the effort that they are making. And in the same way, in my home, we don't, I mean, there are no bad grades and there are no good grades. Okay, so before we even go for the conference with the teacher, I already acknowledge the effort that my son has made, and I tell him how proud I am of him and all that. So when the results come, we look at it and I ask him, are you proud of yourself? Okay, do you deserve this result? He says yes, and all that. And what we do later is we look through the scripts when they come home and then see the things that he didn't do well, find out why he didn't do it well, if he didn't understand and all that, and then we go back and we fix, we learn or we relearn and all of that. Okay. So that is a good way to build your children's confidence, to let them know that you trust them, you believe in them. In that way, they begin to believe in themselves and they begin to believe that they can do all things. After all, the scripture says you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, isn't it? All right, so that's it. So you affirm your children and all of that. Then the next one is programming. Oh my goodness, you want to program your children. Okay, I listened to ZOB today, and when she was talking about reading books, I just smiled. Before I became a parent, there were 2 things that I knew. One, that my children were going to be lovers of books. I knew my kids were going to be lovers of books. Why? Because of where I was coming from. My parents didn't teach me to love books, but for some reason, I found it somehow, and I know how much it helped, right? That I was able to find it. Perhaps if someone had led me, I probably would have done much more with that skill. But somehow I just picked it, and it wasn't so wonderful, but at least it was there somewhere. So I knew I wanted my children. And so the first set of books I bought for my first was when I was 6 months pregnant. Yes, when I was 6 months pregnant, I can remember that book. It's the one I can remember very well is Happy Birthday, Barnabas Day. It was a collection of like 3 or 4, I can't even remember. But the one I can remember is Barnabas Day. I read that book to my son. Today, he's almost 11 and he can still, he can practically mime that book. Okay, so I read that book. I speak to my children when they are in my womb. I'm driving in the car and we're alone, we're talking. I have conversations with them right from the womb. And so in my home, we have read bedtime stories from day one. If we don't read a bedtime story, it's because something important, something that we couldn't help came up. So we have read books from day one. Today, the point you know that my daughter wants to go to bed or she's retiring for the day, how you know that is that you see a book in her hand and she's walking towards daddy or mommy and saying, could you read me a bedtime story? Okay, and this is the inspiration behind my book when I decided to write a book, Bedtime Story for Champions. Okay, the inspiration behind it is programming. What are you saying to your children? What are your children hearing? Okay, what are they believing? Okay, in that book, it's a compilation of over 20 stories of young people who are already doing amazing things. So the book is in 3 parts where there is a life lesson that comes up in a conversation between a father and a child or a mother and a child. And then the parent takes the teachable moments and then applies it to a story of a young person or someone who started doing amazing things when they were young. And after that, he tells the story in a colorful and childlike way. And then after that, there is a chat away reflection part where open-ended questions are asked by the parents to try and get the child's perspective, see what your child is thinking, see where your child's mind is at, and then you're able to use the teachable moments to teach the child. An amazing resource, not because I wrote it, okay? An amazing resource. If I didn't write it, I would be looking for that book by now. That's the truth about it. Okay, so you want to program your children, all right? The next thing you want to do is the next thing, you want to identify their interests. Okay, you want to, oh, is that the next thing? I said number one. Yes, so the next thing is you want to identify their interests. You want to identify your child's interests. My friend Richard calls it, you want to help them through their indecisions. All right, now how do you help your child identify their interests? Play. Help, Jesus. Parents, your children need to play. Your children need to play. There's so much that goes on when children are playing. Creativity, inquiry, language is developed, social skills developed, problem solving, resilience, their muscles, their fine muscles and their gross muscles are developing. They learn how to resolve conflicts. All of this is going on when children are playing. So children need to play. I mean, I don't feel that there's one size fits for parenting. But so you need to look at your unique situation and see what works for you. Are you the parent that has a compound where your children can go and play safely? Let them play as many times as possible. Are you the one that is not so safe and you can be with them once in a while? Please, then do it. If it's every day, do it. If you can't do it every day, just do what works for you. But whatever it is, let your children play. Okay, and then when they are playing, you want to listen out for their role play. You want to listen out for the things that come up over and over again as they are playing. Okay, then the other thing is you want to look at their collection. Children always have these collections. Okay, they always have these collections. What do they have in their collection? When my son was little, I realized every time he got a pencil, he wanted to draw a car. Every time he had cardboard or he had a empty cartons, he wanted to make a car and all of that. So what did I do? I gave him expression. So that's what you want to do. You want to listen out for what their interest is. You want to listen out for their conversations and what comes up over and over again. Okay, so when you identify some talent, some skills, some interest there, you want to help them isolate it. Okay, you want to identify it, isolate it, and then give it expression. What do I mean by giving it expression? When I found out that he likes cars and all of that, he likes cars so much that when we're driving, my son will identify cars by the logo. So he doesn't identify them by the shape of the car. And if it's a logo, he looks at it and says, that's a BMW. And that's an Audi. That's so he could, at 4, he could tell the logo of almost every car you would see on Abuja Road, that kind of thing. So it was, and then my husband would be watching Top Gear, uninteresting as far as I'm concerned. He sits down there and he watches Top Gear from the beginning to the end. When it's airplanes, he's there watching and he's talking about engines and all of that. So I would go to the craft shop and I would buy those tires that you use and fix when you make the car. I would make sure the cardboards, the crayons, everything that he needed. Okay, so what I was trying to do is I was trying to give his interest expression. Okay, now there are times that the interest that you identify in your children could actually be externally motivated. Okay, let me explain what that is. For example, you have a neighbor that is a lawyer, and probably the neighbor is really very warm with his children and all of that. He's really a warm person. So you find that your child begins to say, oh, he wants to be a lawyer when he grows up. So that's externally motivated. He's just saying he wants to be a lawyer because Uncle Nice Guy is a lawyer. Or it could be that another family member, someone who is like, say, well-to-do or is living better, okay, and then every time he goes to the house, there's a lot of, media and all of that. And then the next thing, he actually associates that success with the profession, and then the next thing he begins to say that it's okay, whatever it is, just give it expression. With time, the noise will fizzle out. With time, the noise will fizzle out, and then the 1, 2, 3, or single talent or single interest or that thing that is their easy, that thing that when they are doing, they get lost in. You don't have to tell them to do it. They want to do it on their own. Then that is the one, okay? But give all of them expression until the child is able to narrow it down to what it is, okay? And then you support him to find out what that one special one is. All right? What else did I say? So you help them do that. Now, the number 4 thing you want to do is you want to model. I mean, the next one is modeling and mentorship. I'm sure we've heard this over and over during the course of this conference. Modeling cannot be overemphasized. That's the truth about it. That is the blood of parenting. Okay, you must be the model. You must be the model. I mean, it is said that as a parent, the first thing you want to do is close your eyes and create the image of the child that you want. The what you want, I mean, the image of the child you want to see as an adult, and then begin to live that image for your child to copy. So I want to ask you today as parents, what are you modeling as success to your children? Okay, what are you modeling as success to your children? A lot of the times when you talk about modeling success to your children, people will think that you have to be an Obama or you have to be a Bill Gates for you to model success. No, I mean, are you the parent that goes to work at 8 o'clock today? You go at 10 tomorrow. You go at 12 another day. The next day you decide, I mean, I'm not even going. You lie down and you call your boss and tell him I'm sick. And then your child sees you pick your car and go to the market afterwards. What are you modeling? You're modeling to the child that it is okay not to be consistent. It is okay to lie. That's what you're modeling. Are you the woman that sells akara? What time do you show up for your business? Do you show up at 6 o'clock? So do you make sure you're out there at 6 o'clock, Monday to Friday, or however long it is that you sell? And when you are there, what are you saying to your customers? How are you relating to your customers? When you're done selling akara, how nicely do you pack your things? How well, how organized do you keep those things? Okay? Mark Zuckerberg's parents actually had a practice in the house. They had a practice in the house. The father was a dentist, and the mom had to leave her practice, I think, as a vet at some point and worked with the father, right? And the first thing that Mark Zuckerberg, I think, is about the first program that Mark Zuckerberg created was something to help his father's job easy, so that the receptionist could actually contact the father when there's a new client without having to shout. So do you think that came from nothing? It must have been what the parents modeled. They modeled starting the business and helping the business grow and making the business better, I guess. And so it is no wonder that Mark Zuckerberg can actually create Facebook, and then go on and on to grow it to what it is today. Right? His wife Priscilla actually said that they still take their children. They take their children to work, to their workplace from time to time, so that their children can see what they do and see how they take their job, or how seriously they take their job. Okay, so if you have something that you do, you want your children to come in and see what you do. You want to model, the kind of you want to model whatever it is that you want to see in them. Are you the one that gives back? Do you give back? I mean, are you into service? Do you make them understand that there is something in giving back? Okay, at some point I had a snail farm, and the snail farm was many kilometers away from what I live. I mean, I still have the snail farm anyway, but because of COVID. All right, so I would take my children with me to the snail farm. Really, I would take them with me to the snail farm, and I would have them put the food for the snails and all that, and they would carry the snails, and we do all of that. Why was I doing that? I needed them to see that there are different facets to me. I'm not just the mommy with the wig and I needed them to see different facets of me. I needed them to see that when life is tough, there are other things that you can turn to, basically. All right. And then there's the mentorship part. Okay, so when you identify what it is that is your child's interest, what you want to do is you want to hone it. And sometimes we say, oh, I don't know, I can't help the child. Then get them mentors. My son's first mentor I got for him when he was 7 years old. Okay, 7 years old, that's when I got him his first mentor. We'll come to that. All right, so is it what's the man, the author of this book? What's that book now? The author of the book, what's the name of that book? Daily Success Habits for Wealthy Individuals, right? His name is Tom Carley, right? He actually said that one of the habits of self-made millionaires is that one of the things that they do is they have mentors. They have mentors, and on his list of 5 different kinds of mentors, number 1 was parents. The parent is your child. I say this over and over again, you are your child's number 1 mentor. Okay, so while your child is going to probably end up being a sportsman, or your child is going to end up being an activist, or your child is going to end up being whatever else that you cannot train him to be, he is going to need soft skills to be the best version of all of these. So you're going to teach your child empathy, and that starts from home. You're going to teach your child resilience. You're going to teach your child emotional intelligence. You're going to teach your child all these bits, and that begins from home. So that is why you are the first model. You are the first mentor that your child should have. If you are not looking at yourself, as a mentor yet, if that's the only thing you get from this session, please take it today that I said to you, you are your child's first mentor, and you should wake up every day knowing that you are mentoring somebody. Okay. Yes, so that's it for mentorship and all that. What's her name? Serena Williams. Okay, Serena was about 3 years old when the parents realized that there was something special about her and her skill in tennis. Okay, so what did they do? They got her a coach. Okay, the father was a coach. He did some work, but at the point where he realized, okay, this is not backyard lawn tennis anymore, he actually got her a standard coach. Okay, so you want to find someone, okay, that can mentor your child. If you find out that your child has an interest in a particular area, now the next thing you want to do is you want to create an enabling environment. You want to create an enabling environment, okay? For me, first thing first is books. First thing first is books. And according to ZOB, just like ZOB said today, whatever it is that you want your child to learn, there is a book for it. So if you don't create a habit where children love to read, how are you going to be able to hand him a book and he will read it? You hand it to him, but the book will end up under his pillow. So by the time you start early to create that awareness for book, the likeness for book, you will find that before they are even 5, they are already lovers of book. My daughter is already a lover of book, and she just turned 5. Okay, and just as she said, it doesn't mean that the children will have to read the book all the time. You read the books to them. You have them read books to you sometimes. Sometimes we share chapter books, and each of us reads like 2 pages and all of that, and then we enjoy it and we can talk about the books. We have reached the point where I have to create rules about when you drop your book to sleep. Because I go to my son's room sometimes at 1 p.m. and I see him sneaking to finish a book that he's reading at 10. It's sneaking to. So there is a rule. You know the way you create rules for phones. I am creating rules for books right now. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you want to create that awareness, that love for reading. Okay, you want to do that, and then whatever it is that you find that your children have an interest in, as I said before, you want to create an enabling environment. So is your child into football? Get him into an academy. Okay, get him into academy. All you need to do is create a balance between their schoolwork and whatever it is that is their interest. The time has come, according to Mr. Taiwo Akinlami, right? Mr. Akinlami, he actually said yesterday, soft skill only 20, hard skills only 20%, soft skill 80%. So what is it? You want to kill the children with math and English and science? You want to kill them with these things? There's so much more there that they can do. So yes, if they have an interest in an area, if he needs to go to an academy, put him in an academy, and don't just drop him there. Show him that you are interested in it. Show him that you are supporting him. Okay, whatever it is. Is your child into animals? Do your child love animals? Then get the child a pet. Get the child a pet. Take the child to the zoo. Sorry, take the child to the zoo. Create an enabling environment for that talent, that seed that the Lord has put in there to get expression. It is our responsibilities as parents. Okay, so my son came one day and said, okay, before then, when he was about 6 or 7, I sat down with him one day and we were gisting, and I said to him, so what do you think you have that you can give to the world right now? What do you think you have? What do you think is your thing that you love and you can do without anyone pushing you? And he turned to me and he said, only science. Okay, and then before that, I noticed there's this teacher in his school. Every time my son is doing something at home, watching a program, and something in science comes up, people are like, oh, Mr. Tesson needs to hear this. So he was like that. He goes on and on about his teacher and all that. So what did I do? I'm like, okay, so how do you think you can help people with science? And he's like, oh, we couldn't think of anything. And he said, okay, maybe I'll teach my friends. So I'm like, okay, fine. So whenever you find anyone who is struggling with science, you want to teach them, right? And so that's it. So my son is in school. I go to pick him sometimes, and he's there trying to teach someone science. Okay. And then he got to the point, he started creating study groups. Okay, before COVID, I'll go to school to pick him, and then I'll see him and a bunch of kids sitting down somewhere, and I'm like, guy, let's go now. And he's like, okay, mommy, let's finish. What are you doing there? Okay, he just created a reading group. Okay, and then the other day they just wrote exams online school. Okay, while they started writing the exam, he came to me and said, mommy, please, can I use your computer? I want to convene a Zoom class. I want to do I want my reading group. I want us to study together. I handed him the computer, even though I had something to do with it because he's his bad. So he took it and then he called his teacher to find out if it was okay. And the teacher was like, okay, fine, I would have to be there. And so he had that session with his classmates where they actually revised together. So can you see what is happening? Leadership is already happening. Leadership skill is already on, and I did not sit him down and teach him to be a leader per se, or told him you need. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So the soft skills that we're teaching will lead even to other things that we're not teaching deliberately. So when he said he wanted to do science, what I did was, okay, he started teaching. And then when I realized the effect of a mentor, the way that teacher was in his life, okay, I was on Facebook one day and I saw a friend that is doing amazing things with children and all of that. And then I called her up, okay, someone from school, and I called her up and like, how far and all that, I would need you to mentor my son. And so that's it. That's how their mentorship started. She started mentoring him and all of that. And then we started looking for a way for him to get expression. And we're like, boom, YouTube channel. So let him go ahead and teach other children. Let him teach them science. So my son started teaching science over 2 years ago on YouTube. Now, we didn't have a troll of people following us per se. We didn't even know how to go about those things. I wasn't even so big on social media. But what was important for us at the time is he needed expression. He needed where he could share. He needed to give back. He needed to give something. And then that was all that was our concern at the time. Let him get an expression. And he grew and he got confidence from doing that. I mean, he had to post weekly videos. Sometimes we don't cut it. We don't do it every week, back then. But hey, he knew that he could put something there. He knew that people were waiting to hear from him. That was confidence building. And then these days we're older. He's older and he runs his show by himself. He would actually I would use my phone to do the videos. He will create the models. Sometimes we do the models together. And then after that, he will put his video. He writes his scripts together. He studies his scripts. And then I video him. And then we had to learn editing. Okay, now he edits his video on his own and then he puts it out there on YouTube channel. It is only now that we have reached the point where we want to grow the channel. Before now, we just wanted to give back. And that's what he was doing. Okay, now apart from that, he came one day and said there was a new club in school, entrepreneur club, and that he wanted to be a part of it. I'm like, okay, you have only 2 clubs in a term, so you have to drop one of the ones you were doing before. And then he decided to drop, I can't remember what he dropped, one of those science courses. He dropped one anyway, and then he picked entrepreneurship. So in that one day, he came back home and brought 500 and said it was invested for him to start a business. Whoa. 500 business. Which business are we going to do with 500? So we started thinking. I told him, okay, think about what you would do. And then he came to my room after about an hour or so and said to me, mommy, I got it. I think I want to start selling juice. Okay. And I'm like, juice, how much? But you go to Orange Market, don't you? So can you buy juice? I mean, the oranges for me. And that is how we started. Okay, he goes to play football on Saturdays. So we would juice. I mean, at first we started using the manual juicer. So we would juice it and then put it in the freezer. And then on Saturday, when he's going for his training, we'll put it in I put in my car in the cooler and I'll take it there and he keeps it there. When it is halftime, when it's halftime, he would take it from one group of parents to the other who were waiting for their kids, and then he would sell. He started making sales, 2 bottles, 4 bottles, 5 bottles. And then we came home and started thinking, what next can you do? Okay, daddy will buy. Then he went ahead, he created a small flyer, manual, we just cut cardboard paper and then he wrote nicely. I mean, I sell juice and all of that. And then he shared it around in my neighborhood and all that. After that, we started having 2 people, 3 people come around to ask for orange juices and all that. And then we moved from that and started thinking, how about church? We can take this thing to church now. The next thing, we added church. from 10 bottles, 20 bottles. Before COVID-19, we were doing 80 to, yes, we're doing about 80 to 120 bottles. And he was selling between 80 and 120 bottles a week. And each of these bottles go for 200 and 300 naira. And that's it. So we were just at the point we're registering. In fact, I've not even followed up. He was about to register the company, right? We had registered the company, the name hasn't come back, and then we had just ordered for the labels for his bottles and all of that. But hey, at some point he decided what else, and where we brainstormed, and he was like, how about if he decides to get people subscribed? So we created a little form and did the same thing with scissors and then cut. I printed it and then we cut, and then he actually would distribute that to people in church if you wanted to subscribe. So he knows the number of bottles that you want every week. So some people will ask for 4 bottles, 5 bottles, and all of that. That's how we got to that number. Because at the end, on Sundays when we're going, we have like 10, 12 bags of different people who had subscribed. Okay, and then we had reached the point where we're already thinking of how to go into stores. You already wrote a proposal to the school if they would allow him supply to the school store. So all of this, why am I doing this? Because the child is directing me, the child is leading me. I am his student, so I allow the children lead me, and then I support them. That is my role as a parent, creating an enabling environment for the child to thrive. Okay, when I was talking about book, I didn't mention this, that Tom Carey actually said that self-made millionaires, most self-made, 85% of self-made millionaires actually read at least 2 books a month. And then there's a statistic that actually says about 63% of them had parents who made them read at least 2 books every month. So you see all of these are ways that you actually enable the child. William Diamond, the psychologist from Stanford University, actually said that children between the ages of 12 and 26, by the time they are 12 and 26, only about 20% of them know what it is that they want to do with themselves, with their life, or have some sort of thing that they're already connected to. Okay, another 25% of them probably had something that they were interested in and they were doing at some point, and they drift away. The rest are in between these two sets of people. They don't know where they're going to. So, question I want to ask today: do you want your child to be one of those children that at 45, at 38, at 40, at 50 are still asking themselves, what is my purpose in life? I don't think you want to. Okay, now the last thing you want to do is the last thing you want to do is you want to teach your children how to embrace failure. You want to teach your children how to embrace failure. This is life. There are times where we will win and there are times where we will lose. We want our children to understand this. Our children need to learn how to abase and how to abound. They need to know how to fall and to stand up again. If they fall 2 times, they stand up. If they fall 10 times, they stand up again. So you need to teach them that. And how can you teach them that? You teach them that by allowing them make mistakes right now. So you allow them make mistakes. When you allow them go out to play, sometimes you want to just leave them to play on their own. You want to leave them. Just stay somewhere far where they don't even know you're looking at them. Let them be so that they can make their mistakes. They can correct themselves. It's the same thing, the same reason why they need to play. Let them play. Let them find out things for themselves, right? Let them make mistakes. The point where your little daughter carries a cup or carries a bottle, your little child who's crawling, the point where the child carries a bottle and touches the bottle, a lot is happening. The child is learning from himself that a bottle is hard. Okay, then you see the child lift the bottle. At that point, the child is creating experiences. You see the child lift the bottle and you see them toss it a little. Toss it, first. What the child is trying to see is what happens to this bottle when I toss it. If she throws it the first time, nothing happens. You see her, she'll carry it, she'll raise it higher, and she'll throw it again. What children are doing, they're trying to experiment. And it is in experimenting that they learn to fail, they learn to self-correct, they learn to fall, they learn to rise. It's through experimentation that they get this skill. It is in the things that we allow them do, the things that we allow them try. Don't be too scared to allow your children try things. Okay? There was one of the days my son actually went out with his juice to sell, and he went and he didn't make a single sale that day. I was at the snail farm. And then he called me and said, Mom, I didn't make any sale. I'm like, oh, really? You know what I did? I packed, I closed shop that day. So I packed my stuff immediately. My child needed me. I needed to take that moment and teach that lesson. So I packed my stuff immediately and I headed out to the stadium to go and get him. Okay, because obviously it was the first time he wasn't making a sale. Okay, so obviously this was disturbing to him. So I got there and he got in, and as soon as he was coming, I'm like, ah, businessman, what happened? Why do you think you didn't make the sale? And then he's like, I don't know, maybe they don't like it. I'm like, really? Anyone tell you that? Then don't assume. Okay, maybe I didn't try very hard. Okay, but did you? I'm like, did you? It's like, I tried to sell in my academy. I'm like, did you try the other ones? Did you try that one there and that one there? So I'm like, okay, so that's it. In business, if your business is not working, okay, you try. It is the effort that you make that will determine whether you feel good or you feel bad. So if you think that you have done everything possible and it didn't turn out well, then tap yourself, give yourself a hug. You have done everything possible. There are bad days. Okay, so there are bad days. So sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. So we need to teach our children how to embrace failure. We need to teach them how to know that failure, there's nothing, failure is not exactly a bad thing. It is an opportunity for you to try again. Okay, so failure is an opportunity for you to try again. Failure is an opportunity for you to win. Okay, I say to him, if you don't win today, you could win. You would win tomorrow. So we just keep trying. So it is in the same thing. The same. When they make mistakes at home, how do you amplify the mistakes? Do you pull down the roof because they made mistakes? So when they learn that they can fail and you don't bring down the roof, but you choose to talk about it, okay, they will come back to you, and then they will come back to you over and over again. And so when they try out whatever it is, when they seek whatever it is they think is their purpose, and for some reason, okay, they get some other interest, they don't feel ashamed, they come back to you and then they keep trying. All right, so these are ways that we can help our children find purpose. All right then. Okay, so basically that is it. So I will be glad to take questions if there are any. Wendy, are you there? I hope I wasn't by myself. Hello, Wendy. Okay, is she
Just
there?
hold on. Yes, I am. All right. Thank you so much. If you're still here following us, we've actually hit our 1 hour marks, but we will be we're taking just a few questions. So we have just 3 minutes, and we take the questions that you will have, and then we'll run that through, and then we will leave. Thank you so much, Marybeth. You have a lot of accolades in the comment section saying thank you. Someone says, I'm speaking in tongues. Thank you, Marybeth. I am my child's first mentor. Somebody says, so much value. Someone says, wow. Right? So we already told you that we're bringing you people who have results, not just people who are going to share you Google documents. I said that before. We've been saying that from the beginning of the conference. Thank you for being here with us. If you do not have questions, all right, there are questions. Here they are right on the screen, Marybeth.
What if your child finds it difficult to accept failure? He feels he is inadequate. Okay. All right. As I said before, it is some of these things are the things that we are supposed to start doing from like at a very early stage. But it's okay. They said the day you wake up is your morning, isn't it? So it really doesn't matter. You need to go back and start teaching. Now, the first thing sometimes, does your child see you as someone that is infallible? Does your child see you as someone who makes mistakes? So if you're someone who makes mistakes and you allow your children know that you make mistakes too, tell me why. The chances are they won't be ashamed to make mistakes. So if you are someone that has not been, if you have not been sharing your mistakes with your children, Okay, if you have not been sharing your mistakes with your children, that will help. It's a good place to start. Okay, you can actually begin by going back and telling them some of your stories from how you grew up and some of the mistakes that you made while growing up. I do this a lot. Okay, I do this a lot when my child is going through a particular kind of struggle. I go back to experiences that I probably had in the past, okay, along that line, and I tell them my story. Sometimes, if I don't have a story, I create some sort of a story just to teach them, okay. It might not, at that point, I probably won't call it my story, but I'll tell them, I know someone who had this kind of, situation. And then I tell them the story and tell them of how you want to show them how to get away from such, how to recover, or what you did differently, right? What you did differently, or how you handled that situation given the time. So if children understand that mistakes are okay, they won't feel ashamed, okay, for their mistakes. Most times, if you go back to the drawing board and check, maybe at some point you made a huge fuss about the mistakes that they made in the past. So sometimes that could be the root of it. So it's always very important that we go back and we look at the roots of the problem. That way we'll be able to, make corrections and then teach from that point. All right, I hope I answered that
Okay,
question.
so this is another question right on the screen. Please, our time is running out. We can only take about a minute or two. So please, in less than 1 minute, Marybeth, can you please answer this question on the screen? Thank you, ma'am.
All right, so if you can hear me, you say my son's teacher calls them. Okay, yes, and my son's teacher calls. I can hear you. Now, my son's teacher calls every pupil different titles. She calls my son journalist. No, your son, you can't. Sometimes the fact that we're teachers doesn't mean that. The fact that we're teachers doesn't mean that. We have all the training. That's the truth about it. Sometimes some teachers don't know any better. That's the truth about it. Your son's teacher cannot name what your child is. So you probably want to have a conversation with her, okay, and let her know that, oh, maybe you don't, perhaps there'll be no need for you to name, because what it is doing is it is planting a seed in your child, and then it's going to end up putting your child under pressure. So let her allow your child be who he is meant to be. Okay, she can actually say to him, let her praise the efforts that he makes and then leave out what she thinks he is. Basically.
All right. Thank you so much, Marybeth. Someone is asking about the book, Bedtime Story Book. Yes, Marybeth is the author of that book, and I can assure you that is one book that you want to pay for. I think it's still at the pre-order level. Please reach out to Marybeth. Marybeth has shared so much, so you can get it. We have the last question right on the screen. Please share that, and then we will begin to round up time.
Okay, so when you say find purpose for your child, what practical steps did you take to help your child or children to find their purpose? As I said before, their purpose is not assigned by you. It's not assigned by you. It is not something that you compel your child to. That's why I said you need to listen. You have to be present, okay? You have to be present to help your child find purpose. So that's why I say from the beginning, let them play. While your children are playing, you will hear the things that keep coming up over and over again. Go ahead and check their collections. What is your child collecting? What is the child collecting? When every term, allow your children make choices. So every term in school that they have to pick after school activities or extracurricular activities, what are the activities that your child on his own? Because a lot of time we go and we pick the activities that we want them to do. What activity is your child picking for himself? Okay, when you tell him to do the dishes, what is it that he leaves the dishes for? That is hoping that you have done your work and you have reduced screen time and all of that. Because if he runs back to screen time, and that's the problem, if your children are invested in so much screen time, gadgets and all of that, you will not be able to tell what it is that they're interested in, because at every point they are watching television. So how are you going to find anything that, except of course you want to think of the man that you I don't know what it is that they're watching, basically. Okay, so you want to create an enabling environment put a craft material. Art is a huge way for expression, for talent or whatever expression. Art is a huge way to get expression for learning, for whatever it is. So put materials, hands-on materials at home that your children can explore. Allow them play. You can't take play away. Play is one of the hugest way that you find out the interest that your children have. I said one time that if your child bothers to write as much as 5 sentences, if your child bothers to write as much as 5 sentences on his own when no one is watching, then you want to create opportunity for your child to keep writing. In my book, there's a girl that would always come back from school. Alice, she would always come back from school and she would tell stories to her mom. She would tell stories to her mom about what happened in school. She just goes on and on, and the mom was like, you know something? Why don't you just start journaling these stories? So she handed her a journal. And what happens, instead of talking, just write this down in the journal. And that's how the child developed writing skill. Today, she's an author of 3 books, okay? She's the only Black, by the time she was 15, she had 3 books that some districts in America had compulsory for their children to read. Okay, now she's an author just because her mother helped her to hone that skill. So you want to identify the skills that your children have. It may be quiet. Identify it, help them isolate it, and begin to hone it. As you hone it, you will find that you're giving it expression, and then don't stop. You keep, from one level to the next level. If your child is learning piano from home, at the point the child begins to play tunes, you want to move him to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. The problem is we are not consistent. We're not consistent. The child will do taekwondo this week. Next week, the child will do ballet. Next week, next term, the child will do, we just keep jumping down. So even they are not able. There's too much noise happening. So you want to identify and isolate the noise, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marybeth. Unfortunately, we will want to continue this conversation, but we need to go. We need to release parents to go catch some rest while we do this tomorrow again. But one thing is so sure, this session was mind-blowing. In fact, I had people chatting me backstage to say, hey, my children have been saying, I need to do business and I'm not heeding. So I can actually do this for them. I don't know why we think that business will reduce our children, or that learning these skills we make them not to be the first, not to be the best in their class. I think everything in our head is about how our children will need to pass. Unfortunately, passing is much more. If you do not learn these skills, then your child will struggle right in your very eyes. And like TOB said earlier today, the best thing you can give to a child is a life that they do not need to repair.
Right? Repair, yes.
So we have come to the we're concluding at this session. But before you go, please remember that tomorrow is the grand finale of this conference. Yes. My people in the TIP VIP group in TIP says that is the anointing service. So don't miss to be here for the anointing service. All right. So we are going to be having Sam Obafemi. If you do not know Sam Obafemi in Nigeria, then you go Google him. So Sam Obafemi will be here at 12 noon, all right, sharing with us parenting with your mental health in check. He's one of the foremost behavioral therapists that we have in Nigeria, all right? So, and then we also, by 5 p.m., we'll be having Hannah Clark. Hannah Clark is coming all the way from the US, and Hannah Clark will be sharing with us how to create a patient plan for handling big emotions around your children. Are you having issues with all this? Please be here by 5 p.m. And at 7 p.m., yours truly will be concluding this session. We're going to be concluding. Practically, what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is something I've never done anywhere before. Fresh from heaven. So be here. All right. I'm going to be sharing on becoming an intentional parent. And that session has never been aired anywhere. It's going to be the first time that it's ever going to come on the surface of the earth, right? And it's the title of also my upcoming book, Becoming an Intentional Parent. All these things that we've said, I'm going to be able to put you in line to share with you How do you even start? And what do you need to do in the practical sense of it? I want to say thank you to to Marybeth this evening. It's such an amazing time with you. I don't take it for granted that you agreed to do this. I am so blessed that you agreed to do this without answering. There are some people I can bully, then there are some people I can actually drag. I could drag Marybeth here, so it was also okay. All right. But very good. I don't take it for granted. I'm grateful. I'm honored that they've done the TIP annual conference with us in 2020. Don't forget. Don't forget. Be here tomorrow. And don't forget to go on social media to find Marybeth Achor-Chima and follow her. The best gift that you can give to our speakers is to follow them and rave over them on social media. Like I said yesterday, please, we are not paying these speakers, though. I said that today again. We're not paying them, but you can pay them. The payment we're asking you to pay is to go on social media and announce their words, print their words in marble. We've done that in TIP for years. Today, ZOB shared a quote she shared in 2018. So imagine how I was able to vividly remember why we have created words of our coaches in TIP Academy over the years. All right, and we've engraved them on the sand times of the digital circle. Do that with us. We will be grateful. We will be grateful. So yes, TIP conference ends tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. will be the last session. So be here at 12 p.m., 5 p.m., and 7 p.m. I can assure you of one thing. This last class will blow you off the roof. You don't want to be here. You can be very sure, right? Thank you so much. And remember that you can only catch replays on our YouTube channel. Currently, we are running over 10,000 views on this conference already on our YouTube channel. Awesome. Wow. Amazing. Parents getting, liberated. That's the word. And we want you to be able to catch up. So we're going to have those videos on for you to catch up between now and some weeks and, to be able to get through, with these conversations. It's a lot to be able to take in. And we want you to be able to actually, take this in. My name is Wendy Ologe, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. And I'm also the convener of the Intentional Parent Annual Conference. And this is the third edition. Thank you, Marybeth. And what is the last thing that you'd like to tell our people, our listeners today on this?
All right then. Okay, so my last word is going to be that it's going to go back to reading. Reading is the foundation of all foundations. I like to say that. So whatever you do with your children, don't let them leave your side without giving them this skill. And then position yourself as a parent. If you want your children to find purpose, position yourself to be a learner. Let them to be your teacher, them to teach you. Let them lead, and then you follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Adobe KCOB. You were the first to log in here, and I promise that the first person to log in here is going to get my book. Or I'm going to get Marybeth's book. So I'm giving away that book to you. Please reach out to me. Once that book is out, you're going to get a copy right in your location. If you're here tomorrow, I have awesome gifts as well. And I'm also going to be offering a lot to you. Remember that it's the only people that have registered for this conference that will have access to the freebies that our coaches are offering. Marybeth also have a freebie she's offering to the audience. So you can imagine what these freebies will look like. So if you're not registered, find that link. Please don't send me a private chat. Find that link yourself. We've been sending that link, every day. Just find it. Go on our timeline. You will find it. Register so that you will have access to these things. Remember, parenting is about you and not your child. If you're parent, it means that you are here and you are the one parenting and you are the one that needs change. Thank you again, Marybeth. You are watching TIP Annual Conference 2020, and this is Marybeth Achor-Chima helping us to share on how you can help your child find purpose. TIP Conference 2020. My name is Wendy Ologe. I have been your host, ably and joyously. Thank you for joining me, and see you tomorrow at 12 noon.
All right, bye.